Well, the rain has finally left Atlanta, and it's just about time for baseball. The Braves and Dodgers wrapping up our three-game series here at Turner Field. Atlanta with a chance for a three-game sweep with Joe Simpson and Dale Murphy. Chip Carey back with you here at Turner Field. And the starting assignment today, Murph, goes to Mike Minor, who's the subject of today's Wendy's Now That's Better feature.
Absolutely, Chip. In the That's Better category, notice his ERA has been cut dramatically, exactly in half, and notice his base on balls per 9-inning pitch from 3.1 to 2.3. That's great, no walks, but that's also an indication, even on the other at bats that he's got better command, and just making a lot fewer mistakes, Joe.
His last two starts about as good as it gets, Dale, and especially when you think about where he pitched in these two games. This first video is from Great American Ballpark against a good hitting Reds team and in a bandbox of a ballpark. He was outstanding. And then the next start came in Arizona, also a good hitting ballpark. All told, 13 2/3 innings. He just allowed 2 runs, and both of those runs were solo homers, one in each game. And good numbers, 4 walks, 11 strikeouts, so he's on a good roll.
And chomping at the bit after an hour and 40-minute rain delay, Minor and the Braves now take the field on a Sunday afternoon at home. And they're taking on a Dodgers ball club that's been racked by injuries all season, but they're starting to get healthy, and they get another component of their lineup back today in Mark Ellis, who is working on a rehab assignment at Chattanooga. He was activated before today's game. Wasn't expected to play until tomorrow, but they need to get him in the lineup and get this Dodger offense going. He'll bat behind Carl Crawford and in front of Matt Kemp. Adrian Gonzalez is at first base. The other Ellis, AJ, is their catcher batting 5th. Scott Van Slyke hit a couple of home runs here the other day. Juan Uribe will make his first appearance in the series. Nick Punto's playing 3 different positions for the Dodgers here in Atlanta. And Mr. McGill, the youngster, gets his first start against the Braves, and that's their Toyota starting lineup.
Mike Minor, 25 years old, 6'4", 205 out of Chapel Hill, Tennessee, makes his 9th start. His last 6 home starts, outstanding. 4-1 with a 136 here at Turner Field. 6 quality starts in those 6 outings as well. Lifetime against the Dodgers, 3 starts, but he does not have a win, although he's pitched well. He's 0-1 with a 2.37 ERA. His 4 keys to pitching success: missing barrels. He's been doing a great job of that, working both sides of the plate. He's really cut down on his homers. As I said, only 2 runs allowed in his last 2 starts. Those were solo homers each. And good D behind him. Because he's cut down on his walks, I think the defense has been a little sharper behind him, everybody on their toes. And when the ball is put in play, they've been making some outstanding defensive plays behind him.
And speaking of the Braves defense, here's how Freddie Gonzalez lines them up today. An off day for B.J. Upton. Jordan Schaefer gets the start in center field. He'll be flanked by Justin in left, Jason in right. Juan Francisco starts at the hot corner. Ramiro Pena in for Dan Ugla at second base. And how about Brian McCann? The Braves talked at the end of the road trip, Joe, about upping his workload. This is Brian's 4th consecutive start.
And he's up to it. He feels good. He's swinging good. He's been shut out in this series hit-wise, but he's swinging it good and got robbed a couple of times, too.
Here's your umpiring crew for Game 3 of the series. Alan Porter will have the plate. Greg Gibson, Hunter Wendelstedt, and Jerry Lane on the bases. And we're underway. A swing and a miss by Carl Crawford. And a line drive to left. Upton can't get there. It's past him and into the left field corner. Crawford, a stutter step around the first base bag, stops at second, and he's aboard with a leadoff double.
Well, I have to see it again, Joe. I thought Justin had a beat on that one. Like right at the end,
he lost it.
Yeah, he lost track of it or something right at the end. But from the get-go, it looked like he had a beat on it.
The lights are not on, so it wasn't lights.
Carl Crawford almost missing first, watching to see what Justin Upton did. That was that stutter step, Chip.
A little bit of a break. He might have been at third base.
Yes,
had he
you're
not
right.
stumbled around first.
You're right.
So here's Mark Ellis, the Dodgers' second baseman. And Minor pumps a quick strike. And Ellis does his job. He gets Crawford to third base with a ground ball to second. Productive out. And here's Matt Kemp.
Yeah, nice piece of hitting there. You know, it might have been as Justin was going for that ball, Joe, as it got lower, it might have got into the seats a little bit. On day games, the ball does kind of blend in with the background and all the different predominantly light colored shirts in the stands because it did look at the last minute like he lost it.
So Ellis, whose last game in the big leagues was April 26th, already makes his presence felt. And Matt Kemp an RBI chance with Crawford at third and one out in the first.
Minor gave up a run in the first inning of his last start at Arizona. A home run to Paul Goldschmidt, but didn't allow anything after that.
We're up to 10 games in a row where the other team has scored first. Let's see if Minor can keep him off the scoreboard here in the opening inning. Kemp at 266, a homer, 15 RBIs.
For his last 22 at Turner Field.
The Braves stopped his 14-game hitting streak on Friday night with Kemp an 0 for 5 game. For 4 last night. Minor pumps the outside corner, 2-2.
I think last year was Alan Porter's first full year in the big leagues as a non-rookie umpire. And I remember him doing some games the Braves were playing, and he did a great job behind the plate.
And Kemp swings and misses. Kemp was ahead 2-0. Minor came back and struck him out, and Crawford still at third, now 2 down.
Like a breaking ball, but more like a curveball that he took a little off.
Yeah, more like a curveball than that hard slider down and in. He's got really good mound presence as he's matured. Not afraid to go after guys. Good sequence there coming back after being behind a Matt Kemp 2-0.
Now Adrian Gonzalez, the Dodger first baseman. Four home runs, 27 knocked in for Gonzalez. His batting average, .331 for the year. And a base hit with 2 outs. So Crawford scores. Gonzalez picks up his 28th RBI, and the Dodgers lead 1-0.
Try and go through Kemp and Gonzalez with a runner at third and leave that runner at third base. You've done some super pitching. But Gonzalez not going to let that opportunity go by even with 2 outs. Good swing.
LA strikes first. Here's A.J. Ellis, the catcher, and that's in at the knees. Ellis started here on Friday night, doubled, walked, and scored twice. Tim Fedorovich started game 2 for the Dodgers, and he was the man sent out to make room for Mark Ellis on the Los Angeles roster. popped up. Freddie Freeman near the camera well. Won't have a play. And the count stays 0-2. That's Don Mattingly, the Dodgers skipper. It's been a rough start for Los Angeles. A team that spent lavishly last year in acquiring some big ticket players from Boston. They were the sexy pick to run away with the West. Hasn't worked out that way. As Ellis drives one toward left, Upton got a late jump but gets there in time. And that'll retire the side. A run on 2 hits. Adrian Gonzalez a 2-out single gives Los Angeles a 1-0 lead after a half inning. Here's the Braves Toyota starting lineup. Gonzalez has Jordan Schaefer leading off in center. Hayward, Upton, and Freddie Freeman join him in the top 4. Then it's the Iron Man Brian McCann behind the plate. Simmons, Francisco Pena, and Mike Minor.
Our first look at Matt McGill, 23 years old, 6'3", 210 out of Simi Valley, California. He's made 3 starts but no record so far. A 6.92 ERA. His last 2 starts, the Giants and the Marlins, 6 1/3 innings, 9 hits, 8 runs, 8 walks, and 4 strikeouts. He was a 31st round pick in 2008 by the Dodgers out of high school in Simi Valley. Throws fairly hard. His fastball's in the low 90s. He's also got a slider. He must have good command and get ahead in the count with his fastball. And the sliders to left-handed hitters, that's a question mark. He doesn't really have that back foot slider. The slider he likes to throw is to right-handed hitters and make them chase away, but not too many righties in the lineup today.
And he's promptly falling behind Jordan Schaefer. 2 balls, no strikes. When Jordan Schaefer starts, he has a very good day usually. He's been very patient with his playing time situation. And when Jason Hayward was out, Schaefer did a terrific job playing in right field in his absence. His average up to .302 for the year.
I really like how Jordan's kind of rebounded from a challenging year last year in Houston and being let go here. And I just like the way he's worked, the way he's approached BP every at bat.
Got a fastball 3-1 and missed it. Now it's a full count pitch. And a 6th pitch in this at bat. Strikes him out. There was that slider.
Yeah, it's a good pitch.
And Jordan is out number 1.
Wow. I don't know.
ball really sailed.
Yeah, that was a fastball, almost like a cutter. The way Jordan swung at it over the top of it, I thought it was a slider. But
Yeah,
too.
And I think the way Jordan looked back, he thought the catcher might have missed it. He thought it moved so much. Kind of surprised him a little bit. That ball moved.
That's high to Jason Hayward. 1 ball, no strikes. Jason 0 for 4 last night, but was robbed of a home run by Matt Kemp, you'll recall. And then came off the disabled list on Friday night with a couple of hits, 2 runs, and an RBI single. The Braves 8-5 win. Two and two. It's been speculated in the Los Angeles newspapers and on some of the Dodger blogs that McGill may be pitching for his spot in the Dodgers rotation. Ted Lilly is getting close to returning for LA.
Another part of the scouting report on this guy was that he can and will pitch up in the zone and get away with it. Got Jason to swing and miss up high, went a little higher, and he laid off.
And that one too far inside. Hayward patient. Coaxes a base on balls with 1 out. And here's Justin Upton.
Talking about some of the struggles LA has been having. Who would have thought that they'd be trying to avoid their 4th sweep of the season already today? That's remarkable.
They've been banged up. They've used the DL 15 times this year. And 9 different starting pitchers for the Dodgers. That's tough to overcome. Way outside to Upton. 1 ball, no strikes.
Was a slider. One of the things his pitching coach told me about him was that he really does drive it to the plate and finish his pitches, and as a result on his fastball sometimes he'll get a little hop on that fastball when it's down. Rick Honeycutt, the pitching coach, of course.
So what's tougher to gauge, fellas, velocity or movement?
Well, challenge, yeah, definitely movement. Definitely movement. I always used to come back to the dugout and say, yeah, he's throwing hard, but it's straight. Everybody's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
As long as it's straight. Movement, even if the pitch is a bad location, you still got a chance with some movement.
That's high. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
That slider had a little too much of the plate and he got away with one.
Ooh, yes.
Field was covered during the rain delay. The infield, that is. Don't know how fast the track is, though, after tarp was down. Sometimes that holds a lot of moisture, too, underneath.
And so, question is, slippery track perhaps? Do you send Jason Hayward here with Upton up and Freeman on deck?
Well, I would, but I'm always kind of
too
like to send guys.
Let's see what Hayward does. Big lead. He is going. And the pitch swing and a miss. The throw to second is going to be in plenty of time.
Can I change my mind?
No.
No do-overs, Murph. As we head to the second inning. Strike him out, throw him out. Twin killing ends the Atlanta first inning. In part by AT&T Uverse, by Delta Airlines, and by Ford. Dodgers score first in the first, and Mike Minor back to work. He'll face Scott Van Slyke, the Dodgers right fielder today. Right before we sent you to that last little portion of the Chipper Jones driven feature, it was Van Slyke who is napping on the outfield grass. Not sure if the Van Slykes are related to the Van Winkles. But we know Scott can rip because he has hit a couple of home runs in this series.
He was their minor league player of the year in 2011 at Double-A Chattanooga. He had 348 with 45 doubles, 20 homers, and 92 RBIs in 130 games. What a year.
Mike misses, full count.
Sleeping or meditating? What do you think? Contemplating that strikeout.
There you go. Minor gets the first out, his second strikeout of the game. As a youngster, I grew up in St. Louis, and his dad was one of my favorite players to watch. Just the way Andy Van Slyke played the game. I hope Scott has the same kind of career.
Andy went about his business the right way, too. Always played hard, always hustled.
Here's our first look at Juan Uribe in the series for Los Angeles. He's got the start at third. A couple of homers, 7 RBIs. Late swing. This is Uribe's third season with the Dodgers. It'll be his 13th overall in the big leagues. He's been with the Rockies, the White Sox, the Giants, and now Los Angeles.
And he can tomahawk a high fastball.
And back to the screen. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Good fastball hitter, but he is especially good at getting up on top of letter high fastballs.
He's played in a couple World Series. Did it with the White Sox in 2005 when they beat Houston. And in 2010 when the Giants took care of Texas.
He had good numbers in that postseason, didn't he, in 2010?
2010, 2 homers, 9 RBIs in 14 games collectively in the postseason. And Minor just struck him out with something off speed. Back-to-back whiffs starts inning 2 for Minor.
Well, really nice change right there. Here we see it again. Great location. Nice movement.
More and more confidence all
yeah,
the time.
he started mixing that pitch in there with his fastball and breaking stuff.
And Joe, you've said it a couple of times about Minor. He can give up an early home run and put that behind him. Wouldn't know he gave up a first inning run the way he's gone after him in this inning.
Yeah, he's been real good at putting stretches together after a home run. 10 out of 12, 14 in a row, something like that. He's really good at moving on. That was not the case when he first came up.
And that's a good way to put it, Joe. He's really good at moving on. That is one of the toughest things for a young pitcher to learn. Giving up a home run or a hit on a mistake, just worrying about it too much.
Well, he's even the count to Nick Punto, batting 8th today for Los Angeles. He's hitting .500 this year as a right-hand batter. He's 13 for 26 coming into today's play. So a real test for Mike today.
This is kind of what he did to Medlin last night, and ran Chris's pitch count up there in the 7th inning. That eventually caused Chris to have to come out of the game and wound up with a walk. It's not just Punto, it's the rest of his teammates too that are doing some damage against left-handed pitching. The odd part with this batting average, which leads the major leagues for teams against lefties, is that they are only 6 and 8 against left-handed starters.
Hard to figure. But that was our Academy Sports and Outdoor leaderboard. Balls, 2 strikes. And Minor loses Punto. Good at bat out of the 8th spot. That'll clear McGill in the 2nd inning. First walk for Minor today. McGill 0 for 2. Takes a little low. 1 ball, no strikes. Now he's 1 strike away from bringing his offense to the plate. And the rain begins to fall again at the ballpark. As McGill swings and misses. Minor strikes out 3 in the second inning. Strands Punto at first. Freddie Freeman to work for the Braves, down an early run at home. Home run that brought the Braves from behind in Game 2 of the series. And for more on this amazing Evan Gattis story, let's check in with Elizabeth Morrow.
Guys, thank you. I'm convinced every time I fill in for Tom, it starts pouring. But I talked to Evan Gattis this morning about that 8th inning game-winning home run. And when we were talking at the same time, the highlight was being shown for the first time. He got to see it, guys. I asked him if any of this has sunk in. He said, not one bit. He said, I come every day prepared to try to contribute what and where I can. That's exactly what he has done for this Braves team. Let's take a look at our lows. Never stop improving graphic. Gattis leads all rookies in home runs and in the RBI category with 22. Out of 116 at-bats, he has 6 of his 8 homers have given the Braves the lead. Not too bad. And this 6-game winning RBI is tied for 3rd.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Great report. And yes, indeed, it is an amazing story that just continues for Evan Gattis, whose playing time has dwindled to pinch hitting.
He's getting fans all over the country, too. People who are, as his legend grows, people are really tuned in to watch him hit when he does come up, even as a pinch hitter.
He's getting fans all over Twitter, Joe. You should get on there and find out about those fans.
I've heard about that.
Or as Chipper would call it, the Twitter. No, every time you talk about him, you always say, what an amazing story. What else can you say? It's so much fun.
And Freddie Gonzalez, I think, has done a terrific job of divvying out playing time for Gattis and Gerald Laird. And the reason it's, if you want to use the term, a struggle, it's because Brian McCann is back and healthy and, for example, today playing in his 4th straight game.
Talked to Evan before the game, and he said that he just loves that situation that he was in last night. Loved the crowd, loved the fact that they were into it so much.
As McCann strikes out, that's out number 2. Thought it was great, too, that Reed Johnson and Justin Upton were on the top rail of the dugout giving some pointers to Evan Gattis.
That whole sequence was good, you know, see that happen. And for Evan to say that, I said to him, you know, it was almost, I mean, Justin was eye to eye with you, very calm as he was describing some things to you. And he said, yeah, very businesslike. But he said, you'll see a lot of cutters. And the one you want is the one that he throws at you, because that's going to come right back to the middle of the plate. And that's, lo and behold, exactly what happened.
You know, getting that scout report and then going out and doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's coming in 95 miles an hour, and it just was the whole like you say, the whole sequence, the whole night. Again, the whole thing he's going through and what he's giving the fans here and in baseball, like you said, Joe. People are loving to watch his story unfold.
Broken bat and too late at first. Andrelton Simmons has an infield hit. Not much Ellis could do about that.
I loved what a scout said to me this morning. Sal Butera, who was here advancing the Braves for the Blue Jays. He was talking as you watch Andrelton hustle this one out. He said, in our game, rarely does the expectation or the actual event measure up to the anticipation and expectation of what might happen. And last night the fans were on their feet. They're going crazy. The tying run at first. And Evan Gattis comes through, and he said, when that happens, that's when our game is really special. And I thought that was a great way of putting it.
So Juan Francisco with 2 outs. Juan batting 7th for the Braves today. And looks up and away at ball 1. Wind blowing straight in. Light shower at the ballpark. The sun's trying to peek through.
Yeah, that wind just started, though. It had calmed down when the rain quit.
And ball too low.
Well, Evan Gattis' mental approach, his mental maturity, his calmness he has out there is just remarkable to me. With his lack of experience, he just seems so confident and in control.
That ball's hammered down the right field line, but foul. Into the second deck.
Yes. I was just about to say, did that go where I thought I saw it go?
We talked about this some out in Arizona, Dale, about how Juan Francisco can hit it as far or farther than most, but that's what he wants to do every swing. And there are times where that swing is not the one that's called for. But there's no questioning his power.
2 balls, 1 strike. And McGill drops in a breaking ball for an even count.
No, you're right. There are times when it comes for a different kind of swing. You can't completely change who you are as a hitter, but there are times when you got to make some kind of an adjustment, like Justin Upton did the other night with a ground ball to second base, gets an RBI and a guy to third.
Swing and a miss, and that retires the side. McGill has struck out 4. He's got a live arm, and he leads 1-0 after 2. Friends, the SEC baseball tournament starts Tuesday on Fox Sports South. Don't miss all the action live from Hoover, Alabama, as top teams square off for the conference title. All the fun of the SEC baseball tourney starts Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. on Fox Sports South.
SEC tournament, ACC tournament, always good baseball.
That's for sure. We always talk about it, SEC football, but those baseball programs and the crowds they draw, boy. Great baseball.
And there's a product of the SEC, Vanderbilt's Mike Minor, who goes after Carl Crawford here in the third inning. Crawford doubled and scored on a Gonzalez base hit with 2 outs. That's inside, ball 2.
Well, I love Mike Minor's mound presence. I love the way his pace. You mentioned, Joe, earlier about the defense behind you. You got to throw strikes, keep that defense ready. Wow, what was that one?
Yeah.
Also the pace. You know, you don't lollygag out there. Get on the mound, get your sign, let it go.
And he loses a fast man, and Carl Crawford is on base for the second time.
I thought he had him struck out the pitch before that.
Crawford a threat to run. He's 8 for 10 in stolen bases. His big league high was 60 back in 2009 with Tampa Bay. And a strike to Ellis. Ellis had a quadriceps problem. He was rehabbing at AA Chattanooga. And the plan for the Dodgers was to get him in town today and perhaps join the 25-man roster in Milwaukee tomorrow. They need a win. They need a spark to their offense. So Ellis activated before today's game.
And he was playing so well, hitting so well before he got hurt. It's been a big hole in their lineup since he left. Matt Kemp batted second last night, didn't he?
Yep, just for the second time this year.
So this deepens their lineup too by having him come back to the 2 spot.
But they're still without Jerry Hairston, and maybe more importantly, Hanley Ramirez has a hamstring problem. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 1-0 Dodger lead in the top of the third inning. Our game started late, an hour and 40-something minute rain delay today. And a swing and a miss. Minor strikes out Ellis, and Mike has the strikeout ball working. That's number 5 in the game. Kemp was the first man Minor struck out.
And that was a big strikeout at the moment. There was a runner at third and 1 out. But Gonzalez followed with a 2-out hit to drive in the only run of the game.
Strike one.
Matt Kemp's got that pine tar way up that bat.
It's all over his jersey, too.
Too bad Tim McClellan's not here. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Yeah.
Kemp hits a topspin rocket into left field, and that'll rattle off the fence. Crawford on his way to third is going to stop. And Matt Kemp's first hit of the series is a ringing double. And the Dodgers in business, second and third with 1 out.
Crawford bluffed like he was going to steal on that pitch. If he had been going, he would have scored here. But, boy, a nice piece of hitting by Kemp on a fastball up and in.
Yeah, it was. Best swing by far of the series here. Bluffed by Crawford there. It'd be a good time to go out and appeal the fact that his pine tar is too up high on his bat.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.